Welcome everybody to another episode of Fantasy News. I'm your disheveled goblin host Daniel Greene, and today we have so much fantasy news to get through. There's been quite a few drops, announcements from games to books to shows, but before we get into any of that, I quickly want to go ahead and do a little bit of self-promo here, if you don't mind, for my new merch, the What Language Do Your Trees Speak merch, because you guys really love that skit I put out, apparently from the like and dislike ratio and the views, and quite a few comments were asking for that line to be turned into merch, so go right ahead. You can get the premium version with a sleeve edition that says Fantasy News, and then the less premium one, which is under $20, because I don't make as much profit on that, but Teespring's overpriced, and I have to get a little bit of something out of it, so I've tried to minimize. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump on into the fantasy news, starting with, of course, some Wheel of Time casting announcements. The Tuathawan have had their first members brought into the wagons. We have Marie Kennedy Doyle as Illa, or Isla. Alright, cool. There's two different ways of spelling it now. That was probably just someone with a typo. I'm gonna chalk that up to typo. Narinder Samara as Rain, and Daryl McCormack as Aram. Let me know what you think of these two Tuathawan in the comments down below. Are you excited to see them, or you want some nowhere different news from the Wheel of Time show like I do myself? Give us just a trailer. Can I have a trailer? It's not even real shots. Just give me a vibe, give me a score, give me something. Although I still, of course, am excited to see this casting and love it. These guys look great. Awesome. Next news. r/fantasy is officially polling to get its vote in for the top fantasy books of the decade. If you'd like to participate and throw in your top 10 list, of course, link in the description right down below. I already threw my top 10 in there, so if you want to go find it, go right ahead. Let me know what you think of my top 10. Some people might be a bit surprised, though I didn't spend a ton of time on it. And I'm really excited to see these results. These results will definitely result in a video here on the channel going over these results. But we don't have the time to talk about that anymore because we need to slide on into the fact that Chapter 1 and Prologue of the upcoming Rhythm of War have been released, and apparently there will be new releases for the Rhythm of War every Tuesday at 9 until its release date. That is an interesting marketing move. I know we've gotten snippets here and there. Having a new chapter or two going live every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern time is quite the wow. We're gonna get a lot of Rhythm of War before it comes out for free. Fascinating. I know there's some people who are probably thinking this might hurt Brandon's sales, but I really don't think it will, and I think they're aware of the fact that it won't. No matter how many people are saying oh, I'll just read a ton of Rhythm of War online and then, borrow the last couple chapters or whatever, I don't think there's actually gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be doing that, because with especially fantasy books and series like Stormlight Archive, such a high percentage of the fan base likes to own physical copies and collect and have all their own stuff like that. And even if you're able to get through the first 2/3 of the book through these releases, I highly doubt we're gonna get to the point where you're obviously finishing it post-climax. They're not gonna let it get to that point. But there will be a Rhythm of War index where you can check this on out. Of course, if you wanna go ahead and start reading, links right down below. But don't leave just yet, because we have some more amazing fantasy news. And this includes the first look at the upcoming behind-the-scenes Game of Thrones book. No, this is not about the books of the A Song of Ice and Fire series. This is a book documenting the behind-the-scenes of the show Game of Thrones. Apparently, James Hibbard was kind of there from day one. It was a part of this process, interviewing the cast, getting factoids, and he's put everything together, including the disastrous pilot and how they had to reshoot so much of it, and the show going on from there. No, this article doesn't necessarily specify how they're going to get into the end and Season 8's legendary. Yeah, so I'm going to be probably at least looking into the responses to this book. I doubt I'll be reading it myself. I just don't have the time to read a behind-the-scenes book for a show like this, but it's going to be interesting to hear about for sure, and I'm absolutely certain we're going to get little snippets here and there that all kinds of YouTube channels can speculate on endlessly about the greater implications, and oh, here's clearly a sign it began to fall apart in this point, this, YouTube's gonna do its YouTubey thing. And for my graphic novel fans out there, one of the largest graphic novel franchises of all time is getting a re-release, and that is The Walking Dead in color. Up until this point, every entry has just been black and white, but they're going through and adding, some tasty colors to the process. And I'm 100% sure, without even looking, there are people online who have a problem with this and saying like it betrays the original like vibe or image or purity. No one's forcing you to buy them, and you can have the original ones in all their glorious black and white. Though I think I would just prefer the black and white ones. To me, there's just a little bit more there vibe-wise. The color, just, I don't know, for some reason I'm biased towards the original. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and check out these in color Walking Dead graphic novel re-release, you can go ahead and do so. And in some quickie news, The Legend of Korra will be added to Netflix in the United States on August 14th. So is it worth watching? No one's consistent with me whether or not it's worth watching. Whatever the highest voted comment in the comment section says, either watch it or don't, is the one I will follow. So if there's one that's like 500 upvotes that says do, and one that's 400 upvotes that says don't, I will watch it and review it here on the channel. And no, Keanu Reeves is not the only Hollywood superstar who wants to release his own comic book. Oscar Isaac is apparently involved with the upcoming Head Wounds, Sparrow, a graphic novel that Oscar Isaac took to a Comic-Con panel to speak on, and it looks pretty interesting. Apparently this will be a supernatural noir story, which, you know, I'm a Dresden fan, so I hear that and immediately go, I like. But I'm a little bit cynical when it comes to seeing these stars involved in these projects, not in the sense that I'm not excited and I don't think they could be good. Absolutely, there's a chance they will be. But it does also seem like these stars get involved so that if there's an adaptation, they're guaranteed a spot. And you know, that's smart. That's legitimately a smart business move on their behalf, and I don't blame them in any way, shape, or form for doing so. It's just also there's a little bit of me that's like, are you really that passionate? Probably you are, and I should stop being so cynical. But are you really though? They are. Oscar Isaac seems like a chill dude. He's also involved in many nerdy franchises, heavily in sci-fi, so I do believe he actually cares about this and probably likes the franchise. Does he really? And in another piece of quickie news, surprising nobody, some Star Wars movies have been delayed at least a year, as well as, again, the Avatar sequels. And I know New Mutants gets memed on a lot for being delayed consistently, but do you know how long we've heard about these Avatar sequels? To the point where Gus Johnson made a video on it, and even that video about it is now old. Like, Alright, well, I brought up New Mutants. Let's go ahead and transition into New Mutant news. We had a panel hosted on this virtual Comic-Con with director Josh Boone, and it was loads of fun, as well as a new trailer that showed quite a bit of new footage and really like reframed in my brain what this movie's going to be in a good way. Like, it looks, yes, I'm all there for this.
Give it to me now.
But with that being said, let's flop on over to the video game news, because we had our first official gameplay look at the next Halo entry, and I immediately thought this looked great. But I will also put out there, I've never been the biggest Halo fan. I've said that on the channel here repeatedly, that I played, I was a 90s kid. I played the first games. They were a big part of my childhood. But I dropped off after 2, and I've recently been going back in the Master Chief Collection and playing with some friends and having a really good time. But this looked really neat to me. Though I've apparently heard about on Reddit some pushback, some people not liking some of the new aspects here. I'm not going to speak on that matter because I'm just not informed enough to really add anything to the conversation. Though what I will say with this announcement and the fact that we got a Fable announcement for a new Fable game coming out for the Xbox, I think they are effectively shooting themselves in the foot. Not because these two games are not fantastic Xbox games that won't be on the PlayStation, but they will also be on Windows. They are both specified to be Windows 10, and it seems like a lot of what used to be an Xbox exclusive will now be a Xbox/Windows exclusive. So if you are a PC gamer who, a lot of PC gamers want to have one console as well, there's no reason to get an Xbox anymore. There's really not. Just plug your PC into your TV, bam, there you go, have people play that way. You're pretty much settled. The PS5 has a far greater sales appeal because people will be buying that because it still has the exclusives and the, some things that the PS5 does do better. Of course, this is probably a smart decision for many reasons on Xbox's behalf, kind of blending in that PC crowd, that Steam market, and the Xbox all into one. Absolutely, there are reasons to do this on their side. I'm not saying that they're like totally just, making a dumb choice, but I predict we will see far greater PS5 sales than the new generation of Xbox, the refrigerator as it's being called, because PS5 still is this separate entity, whereas a lot of people who might buy the new Xbox will actually just look at these exclusives and go, oh, I could just play those on my PC, which is even more powerful a lot of the times than even the new Xbox. Sorry, that's just my little rant ramble about an interesting thing in the market that caught my eye, and I'm really interested to see how that'll progress. And this is a bit of a quickie one as well, because there's just a lot of quickie news today. Paper Girls has been picked up to be adapted over at Amazon. I don't know anything about this one, but yay fans. The Bunny Samurai adaptation we covered in the last Fantasy News had a lot of fans really excited about it, so I am going to start that graphic novel series and give it a go, because a lot of people were saying it's like their favorite of all time. So, all right, that seems to be a good graphic novel to shoot at and enjoy, though people did clarify that it's not absurdist. It's more of like a, I don't know, serious take. I'm interested to see. And in new Netflix show news, oh boy, we had a trailer drop for the upcoming Wizards. And for some reason, when I first watched this trailer a bit, I had a very like visceral gut, like, ugh, reaction. It just didn't look great. But then I was like, this is a kid's show. It looks like a decent kids fantasy show, and the animation has some nice like play with the light. Aside from that, it just looked fine. If you have any kids or you just like, you know, some younger aimed fantasy adaptations, Wizards could be an interesting thing to check out on Netflix. I doubt I will be though. And the trailer for season 2 of His Dark Materials, which I have strategically chosen a screenshot of, do not have any possible spoilers, because, you know, people get upset with that, because occasionally it's like a screenshot of a trailer will be like, oh, that character lives past the first season. Thanks, Daniel. I hate it. So now the only spoiler you know for sure is that there is indeed a spire in season 2 of His Dark Materials. And I'm not even going to show a screenshot, but there was also a trailer dropped for season 2 of The Boys, and season 3 has been confirmed as well. But this has been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you've not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here. And sorry for ending on like an avalanche of quickie news. I just wanted to get the really juicy stuff up front, because I know some people complain if I relegate it to the back and let you all enjoy that, and then stick around for my company, you know, if you'd like to hear the smaller stories and my take on those as well. Have a good one, y'all. Peace!